Welcome to the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm Bobbie Grenier, your trusted guide to navigating the world of real estate in Maine. Get ready to debunk mortgage myths, unravel real estate mysteries, and learn tips to avoid costly mistakes. Whether you're an industry pro, an overwhelmed buyer, confused seller, or simply curious about life in Maine, this is the podcast for you. Hey, welcome to the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast. I'm your host, Bobbie Grenier, and friends, I am giddy with excitement to bring you today's episode because we are bringing the style with the powerhouse team of Bradley Mitchell and Lisa Richards, real estate agents with RE/MAX Collaborative and the founders of their newly launched venture of Differentiate Me, LLC. Not only do Brad and Lisa fill us in on their thriving real estate practice, but also talk about their new adventure and the amazing work that they're doing with the Children's Miracle Network. Their energy is absolutely contagious, so let's jump into it. Hey, Brad and Lisa, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi, thank you for having us. We've been so excited to connect with you.
I have been so excited for this interview because I knew that it was just going to be so much fun. And I know you guys, I love you guys, but I wondered if you could just take a minute and tell everybody listening a little more about Brad and Lisa.
Yes, AKA Brisa, which is the celebrity real estate name that we've come up with. It's kind of silly, but it's caught on like wildfire at our brokerage anyway, so we're having a lot of fun with it. I am Lisa Richards. I am an associate broker with RE/MAX Collaborative in Bangor, Maine. I have been licensed just over 3 years now. Actually started my real estate journey at Better Homes and Gardens, the Masiello Group. I was there for a couple of years, and I have been here at RE/MAX now for about 9 months.
Awesome. I started real estate just about 2 years ago. I'll be an associate broker in about 20 days. I started at Realty Maine and then came to RE/MAX Collaborative and met Lisa, and
The rest is
clicked
history. Yeah.
For like an hour or three when we first ran into each other.
Yeah. And life is so funny, right, Bobbie? Like, you know, both of our families are from very small towns. My family is from Patton, Maine. Brad's family is from Sherman. His grandpa and grandma went to high school with my mom. Like all of these weird kind of universal crazy things smashed us together. But definitely when we first met, felt kind of that connection, that philosophical alignment in the way that we, you know, had constructed our real estate practices, had some very lofty goals and kind of visions for future of real estate, including our new business venture, Differentiate Me, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later. So it's been a lot of fun, very, very busy. We're grateful for that in this kind of finicky market that we're in right now. So lots of exciting things going on.
Great. Well, you guys are clearly a team. It's just very apparent in spending any time with you in your social media. You seem to enjoy each other, care about each other, which is really what a team is. So I'm happy you found each other and you created this awesome powerhouse team that you have. And Lisa, you mentioned Differentiate Me, LLC, and I really just want to get into that because I'm so interested in that. Can you tell us all a little bit how that was developed and where that came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, for us, it's really, first we want to clarify, this is an extension of our real estate practice. So we have had some people reach out and say, oh my gosh, are you stepping away from real estate? Absolutely not. This is really a way for us to differentiate the service that we've already been providing to our clients, and really, you know, layer on top of that for people who feel that they want or need to kind of move in that direction with their homes, whether they're buyers or sellers. It really started, I mean, for me, I think as a child, I was so drawn to design and decor and fashion. I have a fashion background. I have a retail management background. So, you know, a lot of experience with visual merchandising and loved that. But even as a little girl, like if it was a rainy Saturday, I would rearrange the furniture in my room all day long, take pictures on my, it's probably like a Polaroid camera. I'm dating myself, but you know what I'm talking about, Bobbie.
They're back in.
I know, right? But no, I would have so much fun doing that and showing my mom, you know, so I was staging at a very early age. And then even when I was in high school, my mom decided to build our home. and was totally overwhelmed with all of the options and decisions that she had to make kind of quickly for the contractor. And so I ended up designing the house as like a sophomore in high school, including all of the furniture, procurement. So she was like, boy, you should be an interior designer. And then one thing led to another. And my life took a different path, and not for nothing, I grew up in the Bangor area. And there didn't really seem like there was a market for it, fast forward 20 plus years, and there very much is. But yeah, that's kind of my background, and it's just such a fun part of what we do.
I love it. Transparently, I kind of have the same upbringing. I feel like
Shocker.
I've watched every single episode that's to offer on TLC, whether it's fixing it up or interior design or renovations or flipping or
Yeah.
so many things. But it's kind of like education at that point.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
absorbing all the information. And to your point, I kind of thought interior design was like out of reach, similar to like being the next American Idol, but I think we are going to prove ourselves wrong.
Yes, yeah, and I think, there are misconceptions as well, that there's not a market for it. We've heard it. We've heard it all, believe me, from our families, from our friends. They're like, this is wild. This is such a big investment. Like, this is kind of a risk. And, we just kind of feel like if you have passion and you have the skill set, how can you fail?
Failure is not an option.
Right? Failure is not an option. But we heard a lot from our clients as well. We're sitting in listing appointments, and sometimes people are really on the fence. We have a situation currently where we were invited to interview to potentially list a client home in Hamden, in a pretty well-known neighborhood, and highly sought after neighborhood. And, not for nothing, it's been a quote unquote seller's market for quite a while now. And these folks were really feeling like, gosh, we love the neighborhood. Our kiddos have friends and we feel comfortable. They're riding their bikes around the cul-de-sac, and one mom or dad has all the kids at one time, and then they're running over to somebody else's house.
Don't want to lose their neighbors.
They don't want to lose their they have great neighbors, and I think we all know how valuable that is. But they were really feeling like the house just wasn't working for them anymore. And so what began as a listing appointment kind of naturally gravitated into a design appointment, and now they're going to be our design clients instead. So, the work that we're doing is fun and collaborative and creative, but it also requires a lot of integrity. It's important to Brad and I, that we do everything with the client's best interest in mind. We have a fiduciary duty to do that, right, for both buyers and sellers. But also it's just kind of the DNA of who we are and how we were raised. And we want to make sure that people, are happy with their decision at the end of the day. We don't want to collect that commission check and then wave goodbye, and never see them again. Like, we're creating lasting relationships with people. That's how you build a successful business, certainly in the real estate industry. So it's important to us that people love their space. And in this instance, we really kind of recognized this is a gorgeous home and we don't think you need to move, but here's what we think we can do to help make it work better for you as your family's growing. The house looks different now than it did 3 years ago. Of course it does. You don't have infants anymore. You have toddlers running around. And then 3 or 4 years from now, you're going to have school-age children, and their needs are going to be different. So
instead of losing her neighbors and putting a down payment on a house,
Yeah.
putting a down payment on redesign.
yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to touch on a couple of things that you just said. I want to start with you, Brad. You talked about TLC, and we didn't really pre-interview about this, but I want to know your thoughts on what HGTV is doing to people's realistic expectations of design and what things cost, be it in the real estate arena or in your design company. What are you guys thinking about that?
Oh, that is such a loaded
That is a
question.
loaded question.
Yeah.
That's why I asked it.
Yeah.
All I can think of is like the people who say their careers are like an alphabet curator and they're here for a $5.7 million budget. And I'm like,
All the memes, right? I collect, whatever, spider webs for a living. Their budget is $20 million. Yeah. No, all joking aside, I think being able to provide that inspiration to people is really important. It's fun to kind of get swept up in that. I mean, not for nothing, I wanted to be a real estate agent after I watched Selling Sunset for the first time. And I am not the only one. I know that there are people listening to this that may not dare to admit it, but I know, it's fun, it's exciting, it's sexy, it's, you're looking at these stunning homes, and styles of homes that we typically don't see in this region, right? So it's fun to get swept up in that. I think it's fantastic from an inspiration perspective for people. I think it's also dangerous territory. I think people can potentially spend money that they don't have, kind of trying to be weekend warriors, and they can really create messes in their homes that can be costly.
Whoops, I tried. I'm calling the contractor.
Right. Or all joking aside, they could be dangerous. Sometimes people think they know how to rewire that light fixture because they saw somebody do it on YouTube, and you could cause a lot of damage. You could have an electrical short that could, create major issues for you and your family. So we love them for inspiration. To your point though, Bobbie, I do think that, we typically recommend to clients, we always say, like, this may be out of our scope of practice, right? But we have found as homeowners ourselves, you better layer in an additional 50% above what you thought you had in your budget for this task, because you don't know, especially if you're living in an older home. You start digging into some of these renovations and you find things that were covered under years of horsehair plaster or wallpaper or God knows what. So great for inspo, can be a little dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. So just
I agree with you 100% with that.
It's very much our job to rein our clients in and get them to a realistic expectation.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about the area that we live in and whether design would be really something that people would want and whether there was a calling for, and more importantly, that people could afford.
Yeah.
And do you find that you can really help people and give them some beautiful spaces and still stay within a budget that is comfortable for them?
Yes, I feel like we definitely surprised our last two clients recently. We've come in under budget. So that was luck of the draw, of course. Our goal is always to come in under budget, but being able to leverage like our local stores that you may not necessarily think or consider, we can find some really good
Quality pieces
Yep.
too. So
tie it all together.
not for nothing, you're kind of getting paid to shop for someone, which is like,
Right.
sign me up, a dream job,
Right. We
right?
are rural, but we do still have options that I think are not prevalently considered.
Yeah, so we do a ton. You've probably seen some of our posts on Differentiate Me. We procure a lot of goods through stores like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Target. You may be able to get that Pottery Barn, look or aesthetic or feel for a quarter of the price. And guess what? All day long, sign me up. Like, speaking of lofty goals, I want to be able to walk in and buy one of everything at Pottery Barn. But that's not realistic for my budget either currently. So I think, really taking the time, we've created a design style guide for all of our clients, which is so fun. And I think actually Brad emailed you a copy of that, Bobbie, earlier, but we break it down to, color preferences, stylistic, art choices, things of that nature. So when we do our kind of introductory meeting and our consultation, we're going through that guide with our clients and they're learning about their own style. They're like, oh my gosh, if you were to just ask me, am I a modern farmhouse? I would say, ugh, that's everywhere. I'm so over it. And then lo and behold, every single section, we're peeling that style onion and they're like, I love modern farmhouse. And we're like, told you, So, and sometimes it's about, identifying the style that works best for that particular home. So it's been a fun process. It really ensures that we are executing our projects to the desire, taste, and budget of our individual clients. In some instances, experiences that I've even had as a consumer, I'm telling them what it is that I want, right? Like what the end result is, what my vision is, and it hasn't always come to life. And so I think really taking a more comprehensive approach to that has been helpful. And our favorite projects are when people say, I don't have the vision. I love your style. I see what you're doing, right? I'm looking at your listings or I'm seeing even your own lifestyles. And I love that. Will you just do it for us? And we're like, yes, we totally will. And we're still kind of sending them samples and examples along the way. We, not for nothing, we want to make sure that they're happy with, the end result. But it's fun, and I think it's really unique. It's unique for every person. And it was important for us that it would be attainable for everybody's budget, right? So we have 3 different packages that we offer, and transparently, they're all negotiable. It's kind of a case by case basis.
Yeah. We've also uncovered that some people's styles are not necessarily just one. A lot of people don't fit into a box. It's like 2 or 3. And how do we like effectively mesh those so that it's a beautiful, welcoming space and it gets all of the pieces that they're hoping for without it being clashy? That's what we're here for.
Yeah, and I would think it would be a challenge too, because I'm sure you both clearly have your own style to I think that would be my thing. 'Cause I always think I know best. Not for style. I really don't have a lot of style when it comes to that, but you kind of it must be a challenge to not impose your own style and really sit back and listen to what they want and not kind of steer in that direction.
I love that we work together, and you mentioned
I
this
was just gonna say
because
that.
we often pull things out of each other's brains. We have very individual styles, but if you were there behind the scenes watching us style, you'd be like, oh my gosh, they're bickering. Well,
Right.
no, we're just kind of leveling each other out because we have different, and then the magic happens.
Yeah. So we have to hold each other accountable, right? Sometimes it's a stage hook moment where I'm like, whoop,
Yeah.
we've gone right off the
She's very
rails.
boho. I'm like, this is you, not the client. And she's had to do the same. So
Yeah.
I think that together we work very well together
Yeah.
for that on purpose. So we're not styling by accident what we love.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work. We love it. It's like that saying, if you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. It does feel like work. It's, we didn't roll in last night. We were doing a style project until after midnight, actually for one of our colleagues. We wanted to surprise her, and we waited until everybody left the office. And of course, a lot of us agents are burning the midnight oil right now. It is peak season. So, we waited for everybody to clear out, and, we styled until after midnight, and it was amazing. And then we got home and we were so jacked up on all of that crazy energy that we had a hard time decompressing and getting any rest. But we were styling a porch for a family last night until almost 9 o'clock. It's tiresome. And again, this is in addition to our real estate workload. So it's very much 2 full-time jobs right now. It's a labor of love, much like your podcast but we do love the work that we're doing, but it's a ton of work. And it takes a lot of, personal time. Sometimes I'm at Target grabbing, grocery items and a couple of things, for my own home. And I've got a list going for our clients on my phone. And I'm like, okay, what am I keeping an eye on? So we're trying to 2 birds, 1 stone approach in some instances. The other thing that can be really challenging in this, geographic region is we do have less options locally, right? There are instances where we're procuring goods online. And fortunately, we're able to do that. But with this porch refresh, the furniture that we ordered, we started assembling and we said, this is not good. Like, it just did not check the boxes that our clients had.
So TJ Maxx, here we went.
I know. So hallelujah. And fortunately we had to pull an audible and it worked out beautifully, but it can be stressful, and it can be challenging to kind of pull all of those elements together. But I think the challenge is part of what makes it so gratifying. We were emotional last night with the reveal with the family. They were like blown away. And we were like, you're not crying, or I'm not crying, you're crying. Is that how you say
Yes.
it? I don't know. I always, but it's nice to have those moments with people. It's not just about making things look pretty. In some instances, it's like, how are we integrating these, special heirlooms, or how are we creating a space that your family is going to make memories on for all of these years to come and be photographed in? Like, that for us is where we derive like so much value and meaning. And it makes all the hard work so worth it.
It has to be really rewarding, really special to create that space, the space that they're living in.
Yes, it's their home in some instances.
Right.
Certainly it's commercial and residential, so We are marketing to people who are looking to refresh their businesses. But in many instances, it's for families, and that's special, you know?
Well, there's businesses or families. The end result is really we're creating like a welcoming, I always call it a safe space because it's somewhere you want to be and you feel well there and it's designed your style.
Well, I saw the before and after of the porch, and I love a before and after. Keep those
Oh,
coming because and your
yeah,
social
right?
media
The
has
most
been
exciting
great.
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, definitely keep those coming on the social media. So I want to switch gears just a little bit because I'm very interested in your thoughts in this day and age with all of the apps and software that's available to us on virtual design, on the AI staging. I know my thoughts. What are your thoughts?
All
Loaded question
all
again.
questions, I know.
So, AI, we see the value in it. It can be super helpful when leveraged appropriately. Speaking of that, we work very hand in hand with a local photographer, videographer who leverages AI and can do some really meaningful things, such as virtual staging, or making a rainy day look like a blue sky day, all of the lovely things. But to that point, devil's advocate on the other side, it could also be not so good. If you overstage or pick furniture that doesn't really flow, or you're portraying something that's not really for sale, then the buyer gets there and they're disappointed. So it's definitely walking a fine line so that your balance is in favor of both parties.
Yeah, and again, all things with integrity, right? So there's no worse feeling, especially in the market that we've been enduring for our buyers for the past several years now. There's no worse feeling than that look of disappointment on their face when we pull in.
It
Um,
looked gorgeous online. Inside looked perfect.
yeah, and
Turns out everything needs a coat of paint and more.
yeah, and usually it's more than a coat of paint. I mean, usually there have literally, Bobbie, been instances where I have been, rifling papers out of my bag and saying like, are we even at the right address? And that's not cool. Like it's so disheartening. You're wasting everybody's time. And guess what? To people that are choosing to do that, like you didn't think that they were going to pick up on that? I mean, we are going to come to the house eventually, even if it's a sight unseen or it's an out of state sale or what have you. So, in instances where people are leveraging it for more than, you know, turning a
Inappropriate
turning
touch
a
up.
gray sky blue, right? Because the day that you chose to do your photography happened to be, poor weather. Um, I think it's disheartening. I think, you know, consumers lose trust, right? They lose trust in the industry. It's not just about that one buyer, or that one experience with an agent, right? They start to lose faith, and we're seeing that impact. Buyers have had it. They're tired of overpaying for homes. They're tired of the shortages of inventory, like all of those things. And it impacts every one of us, and not just in the industry. It impacts, the local economy as a whole. So, and we leverage AI sometimes, sometimes we leverage it to, help us with listing descriptions and just to spruce it up a little bit. If we've been working a long day and we feel like, gosh, we're not finding the words.
Sometimes at 11:30 we need a help.
But yeah, it can be challenging. I would love to hear your thoughts because I know you have an opinion about this.
I'm actually pretty much on the same page as both of you, Brad and Lisa.
Oh,
I use it as a tool. Same
Yeah.
thing, I'll kinda put in something, for write me a script and it'll start me off and then I put my own twist on it.
Yes.
it's
So
definitely a good
yes.
starting point and not like an end result.
Yeah.
Right, right. And I think that and I really haven't maybe looked at enough AI images for staging to have this big of an opinion, but it if you put it looks like a rendition, when it's new construction and
Yes.
there's a sketch. And if you're like, this is a rendition of what this property is going to look like or what the inside, may be for scale. And that it would be useful. But if the home is furnished with, older furniture, lived in furniture, which we all have.
Yes.
And the
Hmm.
buyer walks in and they're expecting, streamline, whatever all the style happened to be in the AI that I don't know. I think it's not a replacement for what you all are doing, whether it be staging or designing for your clients that are going to remain in the home, like your clients over in Hamden. It's the same thing. You're disappointed, you lose trust, you walk in, and something that you may have been interested in and a little bit excited about, now you're disappointed and sad that it's just not what you thought it was going to be.
Well, and think about, again, I keep bringing it back to consumers losing trust, but so let's say that the buyers, are still enthusiastic about the neighborhood, it's in their price range, they're still willing to consider it, right? We get over that initial disappointment hump. Um, my wheels as their agent are spinning because I'm like, this feels a little misleading. What else might they not be disclosing? Right? Like what else might be, we've kind of glossed over something. So, and again, that's my fiduciary duty to my clients, right? To make sure that they are eyes wide open. This is a huge investment. It's a big purchase. So, I think, that's an unfortunate result of some of that AI. Here's what I will tell you. 75% of sellers have reported 5 to 15% sales of their home above their original list price or asking price if they have chosen to leverage professional staging. So let me just pull out some more stats for you because we love the numbers over here.
The stats came from Zillow.
These stats did come from Zillow.
We are premier Zillow agents.
Yes, so we love our Zillow. We love our Zillow clients as well. So currently, the average median price of a home right now, $416,000 in the US, little lower for the state of Maine, $403,000. So splitting the difference of 5% to 15%, let's call it 10% on average, at that median price range, that's a $40,000 above ask sale. That's meaningful. I hope
Just for appropriate, well-done staging.
just for some staging, right? So, and again, I hope we get fabulous enough that we're doing, mansions across the country, and maybe we're charging a little bit more than $40,000, but we're not even close to that. You've got our price list, Bobbie, but it's meaningful. I mean, it really does make a difference, and that's where I think the actual in-person aesthetic is going to far surpass, some of that glossy stuff online. So.
Well, I always end up getting into conversations on this podcast about, social media and AI and all of that. And I always come back to, and maybe it's just me, but that people really want authentic.
Yeah.
And we're getting a little bit over all of the perfection and the glossiness and just wanting something a little more real. And I don't think real estate is any different in that. So, yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page as far
Yeah.
as the AI useful tool. And I'm sure as far as design, to get scale, to think,
Oh, fabulous.
put your measurements in. I mean, just as a tool, it's wonderful. But then when it gets into being misleading, that's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need a happy balance.
Need a happy balance, definitely. So, what are you finding for challenges? I know we talked about this being a seller's market. So, a lot of sellers are happy that it's a seller's market. They
Yeah.
call you and say, Lisa, Brad, I want to sell my house. I don't want to do a thing. I know it's going to sell anyway. How do you speak with them and kind of get them to come around besides giving them the numbers? I mean, that really should be enough to tell them that they're going to get that much more money to prepare their house correctly for listing.
Yeah. I think because for so long, we've been in this kind of space where, especially some of those homes in the median price range, continue to be multiple offer situations, in some instances, above and beyond or well above and beyond. The asking price, there is a little bit of resistance from sellers to kind of go the extra mile, and do the things that we believe will benefit them. Um, Something that coincides with that is kind of that expectation of a seller that it's going to be a multiple offer situation, or that they can, recapture value. Maybe they've invested in some really lofty improvements, like major renovation, multiple tens of thousands of dollars of improvements. You know, Sometimes people don't invest in the right improvements, right? Just because you put $100,000 into renovations doesn't mean that the value of your home is going to equate to $100,000 in renovations. So that's a challenge sometimes that we have to overcome, making sure that we have realistic understanding of, market value, and things of that nature. We want them to be competitive. We want their home to sell quickly. That's our goal. We're not in the market to list homes. We're in the market to sell them for our clients. Something else that I think is challenging as well is, sometimes we have to stage hook our clients and say, whoa, you've done enough. Please stop, right? You're making it worse. Just stop throwing money into this.
At some point, you're putting more money into it and you're not going to regain it at all.
Yes. Yeah. So I think Brad keeps talking about balance, balance, balance. It truly is. You're kind of walking that line of wanting to provide the service to people, but, being integrous and realistic and saying, okay, we really, genuinely don't think that this is going to add value in the way of, better earnings from your sale.
They're probably having so much fun working with you. They just want to keep it going. And that's when you say, hey, when you get into your new home, give us a call.
Yeah.
It's going.
Keep it going.
Exactly. And usually, Bobbie, what happens is they've weekend warriored themselves into a corner, if you will. And it's kind of like they're calling us, it's never too late, but maybe they're calling us later than we wish. We're like, boy, we wish we'd been introduced to you 3 weeks ago. Because, sometimes if we can get in and kind of assess as an objective third party, we can save them money, we can save them time, we can get things back on track efficiently, and go to market, at a better time and at a more reasonable price. But, it's a challenge. My mom, I mean, she'll probably listen to this. Linda, I tell you this to your face, worst client ever, only because when she was selling, she just kept doing all these things. And I was like, Mom, the house is in great shape. Stop, And sometimes, what's meaningful to you, Bobbie, may not be meaningful to me. What I consider a meaningful improvement may be something that Brad would undo the minute that,
I walked through my new front door.
Exactly. So it is, it's not a perfect science by any means, but I think that's why it's so important to us that we have, really extensive conversations with clients, whether they're real estate clients and decor clients, or whether they're, just reaching out to us, for our services as Differentiate Me. Communication is key, I think, in any industry, but in this industry, especially, in the time that we're in, it's just so important that we have a clear understanding of what their goals are. We're an extension of them, their transaction, their home, their family. And we want to make sure that, we're doing right by them, regardless of what the situation is.
Well, back to Brad's point, it is all about balance. And it's probably getting to be a challenge too, because yes, it is most definitely still a seller's market, but with interest rates, there's a change in the air. And
yes, there is.
At this point, I mean, that actually works well for you because staging is going to become more important and more necessary to get them at that price tag that they want to bring in for their home.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, houses are sitting longer than they were a year ago. We know this. We're seeing fewer multiple offer situations. We're seeing buyers that are like, I'm going to hold off. They're like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait it out, see what happens. So it's definitely an interesting time. I do think that the timing could not be better for us to launch this business. Another extension of it, we're pretty early on. I mean, we don't even have our website yet. Our web designer is working night and day for us. Our logo designer is working night and day. We have this, incredible team that's helping us launch this. So the majority of what we're doing currently is social media and through word of mouth. And, our colleagues, we've had a few of them approach us about, can I co-brand with you? I'm going to target this demographic. And, I really think that if I could let them know about your service, and we're like, yes, please, you can co-brand with us.
Yep.
All day long, so we're very appreciative for that, for any of you out there listening. I mean, certainly as agents, and real estate salespeople, we're independent contractors, right? It's self-employment. It's not easy to start your own business. There is a lot of sweat equity. There is a lot of upfront cost. And so we're having to be really mindful about how we're spending our own dollars. And I think as a result, we have that much more respect for clients' money and time, and we get it, right? There's not a never-ending source of it currently. Life is expensive. So identifying where are you going to maximize the ROI on any project that you're doing. And I think that's advice that we would give anybody, whether you have a passion and an eye for it and you're just going to do it yourself, or you don't really feel like you have the vision and you want to call in a team similar to Brad and myself. Really understand what are you trying to accomplish, and what is that return on these dollars that you're spending really going to be?
Well, I have to say that the concept, the idea, the attitude, the culture, what you're doing is amazing. And you two are absolutely perfect for it. And I'm so, so excited for you.
Well, okay, so when I first met Brad, he decided that we were going to be the next Chip and Joanna Gaines. And I was like, okay, babe, well, we're probably not getting married, but I think we both have really lofty goals. I think to some extent, to be an entrepreneur, you were bitten by that visionary bug, right? Like more is more, so we would love someday, to have a team of people who work with us, right? In addition to those industry experts that are helping us to get the business off the ground, we'd love to be busy enough that we have a team and we have a lengthy list of people that are like, we want in, so that's kind of exciting. We do, we're kind of starting with residential. It's just kind of the direction that everything is heading. I think obviously it's a natural extension of our real estate practice, but we do intend to offer the same services to businesses and companies. And it's not just going to be for a particular space or someone's home. Maybe it's a big event. Maybe you have, your annual employee appreciation event. And for anybody that does event planning, we do a lot of that as realtors, as you can imagine, whether it's open houses or some of the community events that we host at RE/MAX in affiliation with Children's Miracle Network. That's a ton of work in and of itself. It's like a part-time job on top of our full-time jobs. And to do it well, to make sure that, you are differentiating your event and your space for the people who may be attending. And in many instances, maybe it's a fundraiser and those are donors, and it matters, right? The experience that they have, the longer they stay, the more money they spend, so we're looking to kind of expand into that. We've had some people reach out about oh, my annual holiday party stresses me out. Is that something that you would do? Yep. The answer is yes. We're going to figure it out. We're very, very excited. We do have two big community events upcoming. Yes. One of them you likely know about because I believe Truji and Baldacci is graciously a sponsor for our annual Children's Miracle Network golf tournament. So Miracles on the fairway.
Yes.
So that's going to be held at Jado in Lincoln this year on Saturday, August 8th. We are still looking for some sponsors if anybody out there is interested. We're also still putting teams together to participate in the event. We have a Differentiate Me team, which
calling all golfers.
It is an amateur event only. But regardless of your skill level, we want you to come and be involved. It's going to be a really fun day. We're going to keep you hydrated and fed all day long. We will all be there as RE/MAX agents volunteering. My son is going to lead the charge of the Differentiate Me golf team. So he and his buddies are going to go up and wear t-shirts or something. So that's really fun. probably another really large event, and I think this is going to be a nice way for Brad and I to showcase what Differentiate Me is capable of.
Let's tease them for a second. Let's back up
Oh,
just a
okay.
second. At Remax Collaborative, or Remax as a whole, we really dive into Children's Miracle Network. I wanted to touch upon that for just a second because I'm not sure everybody's aware of that. We fundraise money through every single transaction. A portion of our commission goes to Children's Miracle Network, and that stays local at one of our local hospitals. Lisa and I are both miracle agents, meaning we donate a minimum of $500 per year through Remax and through sales. We also work at a miracle agency, meaning we as a whole donate a minimum of $2,500. So super exciting things here. Back to the exciting event you wanted to talk about.
I did want to tease it. So Brad and I are going to be hosting what is going to be known as the first annual Miracle Masquerade Ball. So that is going to be happening on Saturday, October 26th. And it's going to be at Morgan Hill Event Center in Herman. We are over the moon excited about it.
So many exciting things.
So many things coming. All proceeds are going to benefit Children's Miracle Network as well. So masquerade themed. I think it'll be a really fun night for adults. Very close to Halloween, which is our favorite holiday. Fall, which is our favorite season. So you'll be seeing more socialized about that. Right now we're really focused on the golf tournament. But there's a lot coming from Differentiate Me.
So much excitement.
And we're very excited. And honestly, Bobbie, like the sky's the limit. If somebody approaches us and it may not be something that we've thought of before, of course we'll consider it. We'll just kind of have to figure out collectively how we tackle it, the scope of the project. But yeah, I think there's a market for the work that we're doing in a lot of different avenues. And it's a way for us to ensure that even in a 4-season climate, even if, the very tail end of the year and maybe those early winter months are not as hectic as our schedules have been, this spring and summer as real estate agents, it's a nice natural extension and a great way for our seller clients who want to go to market in the spring to prepare, right, in those winter months and really be ready to go when the market heats up again.
Well, so exciting. So exciting. And I want to tell you, you had me at ball, come on.
So exciting. We forgot to mention
as adults, how often do we get to go to a ball,
Exactly.
So right.
We're going to
I'm actually looking forward to that.
Dinner, dessert, drinks, photographer, DJ, silent auction.
50-50, like so many things, like so many things.
And it's all for the local children.
All for the kiddos.
How can you beat it?
Yeah. So, we're looking forward to that. And we hope that will continue to be an annual event, similar to the golf tournament that Mike and Chelsea have been hosting for the past couple of years. So, everything that we do, as agents at Remax, everything that Brad and I are trying to cultivate in this new venture really does tie back to family, and that collaboration.
Our local community.
I think it really became apparent, whether people loved their spaces or, were not comfortable in their spaces during the pandemic. Really, I mean, the world stopped turning. People's FOMO, they weren't going out. They couldn't go out. They couldn't go out and escape, maybe their cluttered family room.
You either loved your time at home or identified all of the 29 tasks that needed to be addressed.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think, especially the transition as well professionally for people that had been going into office spaces day in and day out for the course of their career were suddenly having to do virtual meetings and learning how to navigate platforms like Zoom or WebEx, and maybe weren't as savvy with those backgrounds, right, that were available. And they were like horrified. Right? They were like, oh my gosh, like business on the top, right? I've got my blazer on, my pajama bottoms down below out of the camera. But oh, by the way, I'm embarrassed about what people are looking at behind me. Like I didn't realize that my walls needed to be painted. I didn't realize that I had no artwork. So I think people started to really reinvest in their spaces during the pandemic because it was people were peeping in your house at work all day long through your laptop. So I think that really is where things shifted. And I don't think it has stopped. What once was on trend to be a minimalist, maybe people have heard of Marie Kondo, who I adore, who is an organizational expert and, really drove for many years the methodology behind like less is more. Well, we have begun to turn into more of a maximalist. And it's more is more. And so you're seeing that trend right now in interior design. It's vibrant color. It's kind of item impacted. It's color drench. It's impact statement walls with peel and stick wallpaper. More decor, floating shelves. So that's kind of fun for us, right? Like, what a great time for us to start this business when people are really looking to item impact, their homes. But it's also about, bringing the outdoors in, live plants and earth tones. And so there's so much fun stuff going on right now. And for anybody that, is an HGTV enthusiast, or is really into like, design magazines and things like that, that's what you're seeing. And we're here for all of it. Like, sign us up. We want to help with that.
You guys are awesome. And I absolutely love what you do. And I want to just get back and say thank you for the good work that you all do and that Remax does with the Children's Miracle Network. It's amazing. And thank you so much, Brad, for really filling us in, because I knew you were involved. I had no idea the extent that you all were involved. And I think it's just wonderful. And I'm sure it warms everybody's heart. It certainly warms mine.
It's super exciting. Could be touching at times. We have little sign writers, and if you list your home with us, your home becomes a miracle home because the profits that we get and gets divvied up appropriately, some goes to Children's Miracle Network.
It's really great. And the real estate community, I feel, our local real estate community is very generous and giving. And, I'm able to be a part of that through Trilogy and Baldacci. So again, what you're doing is really next level and so impressive. So I think it's great. Thank you both.
Thank you. And, again, Remax Collaborative, that's really what we're trying to accomplish. Like, we want to collaborate. We're very fortunate, there are several brokerages and agencies in the greater Bangor area. We want to be involved with everybody's stuff, right? So, everyone is welcome to any of the events that we hold. We're always looking for volunteers, anybody who wants to get involved. And it definitely helps that when you're raising money for kiddos, there are a few people that I've engaged with and talked about Children's Miracle Network in general that have not either been personally impacted or know someone who is or has been. And, not for nothing, to recognize our healthcare professionals, right, that are helping care for those kids and supporting those families during their time of need with some of these health situations. So all good things. We love the work that we do. We're grateful to be doing it, with the team, in regard to Remax Collaborative, but also, folks like yourself, all of our industry partners, there's like such a powerhouse of people in the greater Bangor area, and we are loving it.
Well, yeah, you can't let the fact that we're, maybe small town Maine fool you, because we have a lot going on, and definitely you guys are a testament to that, but some really powerhouse agents in the area. So don't count us out ever, right?
Right. Yeah.
Never.
Well, I know I'm going to be watching to see where you all take this. It's so exciting, and I'm so happy for you both. And I cannot wait to share this podcast, because I think that people, to really understand what you're doing, I was really interested to talk with you both, because design, staging, that's cool, but I really didn't know the extent that you were taking this. So I'm so impressed. And again, really, really happy for you. And I'm rooting for you 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for coming on today. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how can they find you? What's the best way?
Text, call, email, Facebook, Instagram, all the things.
All the things. So Differentiate Me LLC is probably the best place to contact us currently. We have all of our current projects there. We've got a lot of content. We're sharing tips and tricks throughout the course of every week as well. We really just want to kind of spread the love. We're here to support people that feel like they need our guidance, but we also want to make sure that we're sharing some of the fun trends, for folks that feel a little bit more expert level and like they want to take it on themselves.
Yeah, we also both have individual Remax pages. So if you go to Facebook and do Bradley Mitchell Remax Collaborative or Lisa Richards Remax
Yeah.
Collaborative, you can find us there as well.
Well, I'm sure after hearing this interview, everybody is going to want to know more about you and more about your new venture.
We're here for any and all questions, so give us a holler.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much for coming on today, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks. We'll talk
thanks for
soon.
having us. Hope to see you all at our Remax hosted Children's Miracle Network events.
I want to thank Brad and Lisa for coming on the podcast and sharing their stories. And I also want to thank them for making this world a more beautiful place, not only through their style and design, but also through the amazing work that they're doing for the Children's Miracle Network. So here's your call to action. Connect with Brad and Lisa and find out how you can support them, contribute, and participate in the upcoming events that they have to raise money for this amazing organization. If you want to learn more about Brad and Lisa, go to the show notes page at mainrealestateroundtable.com. This has been the Maine Real Estate Roundtable podcast with Bobbie Grenier. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion and will share this episode with a friend. And don't forget to leave a review and follow the podcast so you don't miss new episodes. The content of this podcast is for informational purposes and not intended as legal advice or representation by myself or any of the guests on the podcast. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep it real.